We're so happy to have you at today's series of Embodying Hope. This session is Welcoming Our Sensing and Feeling session. It's my great pleasure to introduce you to our presenter. Staci Haines is the author of The Politics of Trauma, Somatics, Healing, and Social Justice. She's been experimenting at the intersections of personal and social transformation for the last 30 years through the work of somatics, trauma healing, embodied leadership, and transformative justice. She's the founder of Generation 5 and the co-founder of Generative Somatics. Staci, thanks for being here again. Take it away.
Delighted. Thank you for having me. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining for our second practice session on Embodying Hope. In our first session, for those of you who were here, we really talked about sensing and feeling and why paying attention to the information, the wisdom, and the habits that come through the sensations are so important. And today we're going to focus on really discovering hope, but again, from the felt senses up. Also, just, as might be obvious, I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm going to be working through that as we go together today. One of the questions we start with in the lineage of somatics that I work in is, what do you care about, right? What do you care about? What do you long for? And we're really focusing in these 4 practice sessions on what is hope? What do you hope for? And then we're going to craft that next session together into really a vision, or what we call a declaration. But today we're going to keep settling into feeling, sensing, listening through different practices about what is hope. And for any of you who pay attention to the world, which my guess is all of you, is there are many, many hopeful things happening, and there's very difficult things happening. And I have found myself in these last 5 years, let's say, but especially 3 years, struggling at a new level of like, what do I hope for? What is hopeful? What's my hope for the future? So I'm also glad to be in practice with you and digging in and listening and cultivating hope at a different level. So with that, we're going to actually just start with a centering practice. I introduced this very briefly last time, but practices love repetition. So let's do it. You can stay seated. You could even lie down. You can stand up. So whichever feels best to you, I'm going to be standing. All right. So first thing inside of any body-based practice is let your attention come from your thinking self down into your sensing and your feeling self. Okay. Now lower this a little for us. Yeah, so that means just let your attention start to notice your temperatures. What temperatures are you feeling from the inside out? You can even, with your next couple of breaths, let your attention follow your breath deeper down into your body. Yeah. Sensing, feeling, listening from the inside out. This is one of the key ways that we stop objectifying ourselves or treating ourselves like an idea or a symbol or a machine, is we come back into the livingness, right, of our whole selves. So bringing your attention into your body, let's bring our attention right down to center. And an easy way to find that is just put your thumb at your belly button and drop your hand underneath. And this is really our center of gravity when we're standing. For any of you who dance or do sports, this is also really where we initiate action or we initiate movement from. And many of us will also experience our intuition, like a gut instinct or a gut feeling. So we want to live into this part of our bodies, let our bellies relax, no matter what culture tells us. So drop your hand there, drop your attention behind your hand, and see if you can really be present in this whole sphere of your own body. Take a breath there, sensing, feeling. So center, right? This is center. And we're going to center ourselves on purpose in 4 directions or 4 dimensions. So you can let your hand stay there. You can let it relax by your side. And let's first center ourselves into length. So drop yourself, drop your attention all the way into your lower body. If you're seated, you can find your weight in your sits bones. If you're standing, you can let your weight go down those long bones of the legs and rest onto the floor. So lengthening, we lengthen down first. It's like make contact with gravity and the earth. And then from that base, we're going to also lengthen up, making more space between your vertebrae. So what we're practicing is centering in our full length, filling back out into our full length, and then balancing top and bottom. There's a lot in our cultures and in the world that asks us to be just living in our heads and our thought processes. And that just so profoundly limits our creativity, our wisdom, our intelligence. So when we come back into the full intelligence, right, of the soul. Lengthening, centering in length. Fill out from the inside out in length. And then inside of length, we're also centering in the inherent dignity in all life, including you. So just take a moment and center also in dignity or inherent worth. And if it's hard to find your own today, which it can be, you could notice a plant or an animal or a tree, something else. Like, all right, that has inherent worth. And just practice off of that. All right, centering in length, first direction. Second direction is width. So from this center line, widen out, right, to your left and right sides. If it helps to just do a little reach out side to side, just gently. Expanding into width, right, unfurling all the way down across your feet, your lower legs, ear to ear, and balancing left and right. If it helps to kind of shift back and forth to find that balance, you can do that. Width, okay, we talk about this as we're also centering in connection, letting ourselves out, letting others in, having centered boundaries rather than reactive boundaries, but just centering, widening, coming back into connection. And let yourself know as you're centering in width, just let yourself widen out and connect with one other thing in your room that's pleasurable to you. I have this amazing rubber plant over here to the left. So I'm just widening and connecting, letting myself also include and feel that plant. Good, centering in width and centering connection. All right, the third direction is depth. Back side, inside, front side. And let's first just feel for the space behind you. Maybe take a breath that goes into your back body. Find the back of your heart, or find the back of your hips or your heels. Right, history, ancestors, everything we've learned up until today, right, is at our backs. I also like to think that there's really 3 billion years of evolution on this planet as our back, right? That's at our back and we're a part of that. Then come into your internal space, maybe take a little bit deeper breath. Maybe make a little more space in your belly and your center in depth. Right, we're cultivating our ability to sense and feel and allow without reacting. Right, it's like we're opening ourselves to more. And then all the way to the front side, maybe you feel your sternum or the front of your legs. And then balancing back in front, not pulling back, not pushing forward. And then connect all of those, centered in length, centered in width, centered in depth, right? Practicing dignity, practicing connection, practicing depth. And then the last thing we center on really is who and what you care about. So let yourself just bring to body, bring to heart, bring to mind a place, a person, a vision that's very important to you. And let yourself really center on that, imagine it, and let that also fill out your whole nervous system. Like I'm centering on what I care about. I'm connected to what I care about. I'm just practicing embodying that. All right, I'm going to move us right from here into a practice that's specifically about hope. And it's a practice about changing states. We call it 1, 2, 3 space. Yeah. And I'm going to talk us through it for a minute, and then we'll take it on and practice it and really practice, again, discovering different ways of answering what do we hope for. Okay, so in a moment, if you can make sure in your chair or standing that you have the ability to step forward and then step back twice. Okay, so we're going to go 1 space, step back into 2 space, step back into 3 space. Okay, that's what we're going to be practicing. So 1 space, in a moment, I'll lead us through this, but just so you know what's going on. 1 space we're going to pull into our heads. Like we're just thinking, we're figuring it out. It could both be like 1 space of ruminating in our minds, or it could be the 1 space of kind of clear strategic thinking, but we'll be in our heads. Then there's more, right? So we'll step back into 2 space, and we'll step back into including our whole body, right? More sensing, more emotion, more feeling, connection, noticing others in the space, right? So that's more is 2 space. And then we'll scoot back even 1 more step. That'll be 3 space. And 3 space is really stepping back into like the vastness, right? The ever expanding universe, the amazing amount of life on the planet. It's just stepping back into more. There's much more life than our individual life and than our connections. Okay. So that's what we're going to try on. And then in each space, I'm just going to drop in a question about hope and just let that space answer it and just notice what comes. Really just notice the automatic answer that comes in the process. All right, friends. So get into your position for 1 space where you have room to step back. So we're going to do that. Organize yourself mostly into your thinking and your head, right? So most of us know how to do this because maybe we do it a lot, but bring your attention into your head, your thinking. You might be wondering about it, contemplating it, ruminating, but bring yourself into 1 space. And really attending into your head, into your thinking. And let 1 space just answer this question. For you, what is hope? Just noticing what comes. Just going to say it again. What for you is hope? All right, then we're going to let that go. And behind us is more sensing, more feeling, more aliveness. It's already there. When you're ready, we're just going to scoot or step back into 2 space. And just let yourself really organize into more feeling, more sensing, noticing other people or plants or life in the space with you. Good. And then just let 2 space answer this question. What do you hope for? What are you hoping for? Sensing, feeling, noticing. Maybe it's an image or a sound or an answer. So notice what's there in 2 space. All right, then again, just let that go. And then behind us even more, right? We're part of that bigger more every day, just sometimes we don't notice, right? The ever-expanding universe, the weather, the billion life forms on our planet. It's just more. Maybe it's spirit to you. Yeah, whatever it is to you, but behind us is more. And all we're going to do is just scoot or step back into it and just let 3 space really have us. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and step back again into 3 space. If you want to close your eyes, you can. Right, bigger, more vast. Listening, feeling, sensing. What is it that 3 space hopes for? What does this 3 space want us to know or want to tell us about hope? Just notice what comes for you. Again, it might be an image, a song, an answer, sensation. When you're ready, let that go. And then just again on your own timing, either scoot or step back into 2 space. Give yourself a sense, a moment to orient there. A little bit more cohered. Maybe noticing what's happening in your room, but still feeling and sensing through your whole so. And we're going to do 3 space just one more time because it can be sometimes for some of us harder to access. So again, there's more behind us, more vastness or mystery, earth, spirit, whatever that is for you, but there's just more. And again, when you're ready, take a step back into 3 space and really let 3 space have you. Let 3 space answer the question, what brings hope? What is hope in our times? All right, just go ahead and take that space in whatever way makes sense to you. Step back forward into 2 when you're ready. And then we're going to sit ourselves back down. So go ahead and come back to the computer if you've been standing. 1 space, 2 space, 3 space. What can we discover about hope when we let ourselves move through different states and in some ways access information and intelligence in a different way? So for those of you who are open to dropping in the chat, you could just put 1 and a word, 2 and a word, and 3 and a word of like what came up for you around hope in 1 space, 2 space, and 3 space. And for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, Star is also going to do some cutting and pasting in the chat so we can hear from some of you as well. This is great. Some of the 1 is safety. 1 was all about the future, the light at the end of the tunnel. travel and adventure, having orderly thought and clarity, awesome. Human decency. All right, then 2 space, what came up for some people was peace and love, just being present. Yeah, love and connection. All right, then mixed, it was mixed and familiar, right? And then some of the things I'm seeing from 3 space, thank you all for dropping this in here, is 3 space was like a blanket of love. 3 space, I felt my ancestors remind me of what hope means for the light bringers. 3 was acceptance and change. 3 was trust. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Jennifer put 1 was joy, 2 was connection and nature, and 3 was infinite movement. All right. Thank you for adding. There's a whole bunch in here that's really beautiful. So those of you who can the chat, please keep looking. So 1, 2, and 3 space, this is a practice, like both centering and 1, 2, 3 space could even be a daily practice around hope. Let me center myself, center on what I care about, and then just try on the mind, the head answering, the spaciousness of the body and connection answering, and that bigger 3 space mystery answering. I know for me in these times, I'll often go to 3 space and go, what is happening? What is happening in our world? What is happening in these times, and what is grounded hope? One of the images that came for me in 3 space was all the grasses and trees and budding and new birds, like all this life that's emerging every day, all the time, including in us. It was like, oh, right, the impulse of life to live is with us in such an inherent part of even our times, which is good. I'll contemplate that for a bit and like, okay, what does that mean about where I put my energy and how I notice hope or notice aliveness? All right, folks, we are, I can't believe how fast this thing always goes. It just like speeds right by. I think what I'll do is actually take a moment for questions. I had one other practice for us, but I don't think I'll fit in both in our 5 minutes. Anyone have a question or anything else they would like to share? And yeah, Pat, help me out. What you got?
Sure, let me take a look. Give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please recommend how I can make good use of it's coming too fast. Good use of massage therapy in my healing process?
Yeah. And also I wanted to tell Katerina, no, it is not necessarily informed by embryology, but it's so interesting because the soma does, our bodies do evolve in a very particular way, connected to the way that other animals evolve. So much of that comes through somatics because it is really connecting to the wisdom, right, of evolution. The massage therapy, you know, really what I want to say for all of us on our own processes of embodying or processes of embodied change is somatic awareness, and however we can cultivate that is one important part of it. If we're getting body work or something that's about shifting how things are held in our bodies, to try to work with someone that can really also be in a conversation with you and be present with your emotions. Like something, let's say, softens and opens in the chest. Sometimes massage just works on the body. And what we're looking at with somatics is the chest opens, there's a story there might be an emotion there. So seeing if a massage therapist can do some of that integration of story, emotion, and touch. And then the last piece, you know, if we kind of go the 3 parts of embodied change, is to be in purposeful practice, which is obviously what we're doing here today. But how can your practices, your somatic practices, keep really aligning with what you care about, which we'll talk more about in the next 2 sessions.
I've got 2 quick ones here. One said your website. How can they get in touch with you? Because they said it's under construction right now.
Yeah, you can write. Yeah, the one that is not under construction is the politicsoftrauma.com. You can reach me there and you can email me there. And then the new Staci Haines website will be up in a couple of months, but we're just doing some, you know, some redoing on the site.
Someone asked, how have you ever encountered anyone whose bodies resist body work, and what would you do in that situation?
All the time. Yeah, of course. I often think of where we find resistance in our bodies. I don't even like using that word. I like thinking of it as like our bodies have it's bringing forward a historical protection, right? So where there is like, I don't want that, or an automatic reaction in the body, I never think of someone as resistant, but rather going, okay, the soma knows how to protect itself by tightening or shutting down or numbing. And in many ways, what we want to do with that is the first thing is get curious. Just be like, oh, protecting, tight numbing. Wow, what is it you're trying to take care of? What is this taking care of historically? What might you need now? Right? So we can, work with ourselves that way. And sometimes massage is not what everybody wants. Yeah.
Someone, Dindy is saying, they're powerful practices, and I'd like to share them with my students. Are they in your new book, which I have, or where else may I find them?
So first thing that I like to say is, for all of us, before we share a practice, make sure you practice it 30 times yourself, right? Because part of what we're communicating in somatic practice is our embodiment of that practice. And it's a little counterintuitive. It's kind of thinking about like martial arts. If I did one martial arts class, I might not be competent to then teach martial arts. So practice yourself 30 times is a good number. And yes, these practices are in my book, or also at Staci Institute has this centering practice, as well as the Embodiment Institute with Prentice has this practice. But you'll see the 1, 2, 3 space in the book too.
What was the first name you mentioned? Because it sounded, for at least for me, you cut out for a second.
Staci Institute. Mary just put it in chat. Okay. Or the Embodiment Institute. Yeah, I have quite a few practices posted in those places as well. Yeah, also, oh, no, I can't remember the name of them. It's okay. Those two will work.
We are about out of time, but there's one more here I want to ask you about if you have time. Could you speak about a tendency for shallow breathing and how to work with somebody who's experiencing that?
Yes. First, we want to say, good job, shallow breathing. It helps us not feel. Shallow breathing is a stress response. And with really any of the responses we first find in the body, and maybe I'll do this next time, it's like if we have a fist and we're trying to pry the fist open, the fist gets tighter. But if we have a fist and we support the fist in the direction it's going, it tends to soften. That's how we want to deal with contractions or numbness or shallow breathing in our bodies. So with shallow breathing, I just go, let's just get conscious of the shallow breathing and let it be exactly as shallow as it needs to be, right? Awesome. Then you ask those questions. What is the shallow breathing taking care of? And what has it been taking care of historically? All these embodied patterns have a history, and fundamentally, they're trying to take care of usually safety, belonging, right? Or a sense of worth. So be with what is, get curious about it, do it consciously, and usually what happens is it starts to change already, rather than override it with a new practice. Great questions, you all. Thank you.
Staci, thank you so much. This session helps me. It's a good reminder to me that when we create space to listen, we already have so many answers. We thank you so much for being here today, and we look forward to next week. A big thank you to our audience. We're happy to have you, whether you're new to this program or you've been with us before. And you can find the past sessions of TRF Tuesday in the library on our resources tab on the TRF website. Bringing you this program from behind the scenes are TRF team members Patty, Star Muhammad, and Connor McCann. I'm Mary Frangie, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for being here, everyone. Bye.
Thank you all.